Welcome to From the Trenches, success shortcuts revealed by real-world innovators crushing it right now. I'm your host, Scott Hartley, and we're back with another episode packed with actionable strategies from today's most successful entrepreneurs. If you're tired of generic business advice and ready for real cutting-edge tactics that are working right now, you're in the right place. Now, let me start off with a question. What if you and your team could gross $500,000 or more in a year by only working 10 hours a week? What could you do? What would you do? And you're probably asking, is that even possible? Well, today's guest, with only a staff of 3, accomplished that last year, giving him the ability to spend the majority of his time with his family and kids and enjoy life. And today he's going to share how he accomplished that. So I'd like to introduce you to Robert Lee. He goes by Rob. He lives in Dallas with his wife, girls, and pets. And he's an AI Branding Academy partner, AI Persona Method certified, REEA Gold Standard instructor. He's a licensed real estate agent in the state of Georgia and a member of the Paulding Board of Realtors. And his marketing agency, the Leasix Agency, helps real people make real money in real estate with AI employees. Rob, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your backstory. Like, how did you, get into real estate, and then just kind of bring us up to speed, like, starting to leverage AI in the real estate world.
Yeah, so I knew as a kid that I would never be a good corporate citizen. If we're going way back, I just never was, right? I am a personality type that likes to question rules, not to argue with them, but to kind of argue with them and find a better way of doing things. Always
Right.
been my personality type. So I always knew I'd be working on my own and for myself to really succeed in the world.
Mhm.
Well, fast forward into my 30s, buy a multi-million dollar direct mail company, something that I had wanted to do for a very long time. Direct mail is still an amazing thing to use, even in today's digital age,
Yep.
so long as you use it right. But I found myself stuck in the same trap that every business owner, no matter the industry that you're in, when you're a small business owner, you think everything has to fall on you. And even though I had a background in process management and project management, it just created a world where I was becoming increasingly unhappy and separated from the people that mattered most.
Hmm.
Well, in August 2022, all of that started to come to a head. My wife and I, we have 2 beautiful girls. We wanted a boy. We had a boy coming. She was about 7 months pregnant. And just randomly one day, we lost our boy.
Mm.
And uh, it's hard to deal with, right? If you've ever had
Yeah.
to go through something like that, it's just you can't put into words perfectly how it feels, but you know how it feels.
Sure.
So I finally get through that. My business continues to run. It's not really running as well as I wanted it to, and I clearly couldn't step away. So the stress in the grief, I never had a chance to handle it.
Hmm.
Started to get a handle on it, and then my dad passes away. And my old man was the parent that raised us. My parents split when I was young.
Hmm.
We lived with our old man. So every lesson that I learned in life on how to be a man, how to be a leader, how to communicate with people was just gone.
Yeah.
And I again, it sent me even deeper into that hole of grief. And rather than try to deal with it, I unconsciously, subconsciously made the decision to destroy that multi-million dollar business in 4 months. So here I was in June of 2023 at home, like just kind of sleeping and grieving and grown man crying and all of that kind of stuff to be able to finally deal with everything that had been building up.
Hmm.
And the most amazing thing about it was when I told my wife, I was like, I've destroyed this business. I've got to shut it down. I didn't even finish the sentence. And she said, do it.
Hmm.
Because nothing you do is more important than being happy with us. Like I want my husband back. The girls want their dad here. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. And luckily, like a smart business person, we had everything set up that I could take the financial hit and we would still be okay. So it was in that time that I started to say and started to ask the real question, if this is what I want to be with my wife and girls. How do I get to a place where I can do that? And that was coincidentally enough the time where AI became a pretty widely understood tool in terms of people knew what it was,
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what it did necessarily, but knew what it was and how to access it. And that's when the light kind of just hits, and I can be home. I can do what I want to do. I can be with the people that make me happy. I can get my afternoon naps in a quiet house while my wife is at work and my daughters are at school. And I can make really good money doing this, enough money that I can be where I want to be.
Yeah.
And so that's the process that we went through, and using all of the training and knowledge I had about running successful and businesses that were ended up not being so successful, and dealing with grief and how to approach that from the perspective of just being a human being. I started to see like all of these lessons I had about business management and lean and Six Sigma and process management, program management, just all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
AI was the perfect tool to help me elevate the constraint I have in my life that we all have in our lives, which is time.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of started along this journey, and how we got to this moment talking with you about it on this podcast.
Yeah. Wow, that's a powerful backstory. And, I'm sure that, so many of our listeners can relate to some aspect of that,
Mm-hmm.
because, whether they've lost a child, whether they've, lost a parent, whatever that is. And I hear, what you're saying and where you're coming from, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we create basically a job for ourselves. We go out, we intend to create a business, but we've really created a job. And, we want that freedom. We want that flexibility. That grand idea that we all have. It's like, oh, if something happens, I'll be able to step away and I can deal with that. I can grieve, I can, plan, I can do whatever is
Mm-hmm.
necessary. But then the reality is we haven't really set our business up for those type of situations. And so then when they happen, just like you said, you just kind of keep plugging along, and then you never really deal with the grief, or you never really deal with that situation. And it
Mm-hmm.
always rears its ugly head when you just try to ignore or bury it instead of actually dealing with it. And like in your case, you said, it led to, having to shut down, a highly successful company. And I wouldn't consider that a failure. It's, a learning opportunity, which it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like you've definitely, used that as a learning opportunity to get where you are today.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Now I'll perfectly acknowledge this too. It was an absolute failure on my part, and but I'm not ashamed of it, right?
Mhm.
That's the thing, is that you can acknowledge failures for what they are, which are learning opportunities. The greatest thing about our country is that everybody has the opportunity to fail. And
Yep.
the really smart people learn how to fail upwards, in the sense that they take the Thomas Edison attitude of learning all of these different ways not to make a light bulb. Well,
Mhm.
that's what I learned in that particular instance. And one of the loneliest things about being an entrepreneur is the fact that nobody can truly understand how isolated you really are.
Mhm.
And I know that this we're going to talk about AI in a second, but that experience you have in your life, you have to remind yourself of that why statement, that context of your own experiences
Yeah.
is the way that you make things like AI powerful and life changing. It
Mhm.
makes it really no different than a pencil for a writer or a typewriter for
Mhm.
somebody that tells their story in books. I mean, the greatest writers in the world, the greatest storytellers are the people that have a story to tell. And everybody listening to this podcast has a story to tell.
Mhm.
If you understand what that story is, yeah, you can absolutely fail the right way and come out brighter on the other side for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into a little bit of, the AI. So, you kind of got into using AI in your business kind of in the early days. I mean, it's really started
Mm-hmm.
to take off now, but kind of in the early days. what was kind of some of the things that you were seeing, some of the potential, and then maybe what were some of the apprehensions that you had with AI? Because I know still a lot of people today, they're still kind of leery about, oh, should I really incorporate this into, my business, even though they may understand some of the benefits. But, going back a couple years, what were you kind of seeing and thinking?
So my background beyond being a marketer and being involved in real estate, my first corporate job was working for an engineering firm and managing their quality system. So I was really exposed to ISO 9001 and 14,000 and all these different standards that at that time were really moving towards a process oriented model for how companies should be built. So going through that process, I started to be exposed to Lean and Six Sigma, hence my company's name, Lee6. It's a
Mm-hmm.
combination of Lean Six Sigma. W.E. Deming, Dr. Eli Goldratt, these just amazing thinkers that have this um, very deep impact on the way that we operate
Mm-hmm.
as business people. Uh, I love it. And if you've read Dr. Goldratt's books or Deming's books, they're just so simple and easy to understand. And they just had this way of explaining their thoughts in such amazingly powerful ways.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally bottomed out and started to regain some clarity, I went back to those lessons and I started to reread some of those books that I try to read on a regular basis. And then it just kind of clicked at that moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is where Dr. Goldratt talks about a technology can be useful if it alleviates a constraint. Well, the biggest constraint as small business people we have is time.
Mm-hmm.
We only have so many minutes in a day, and we have an unknown number of days in a lifetime.
Yep.
So, time is something that we have to build our businesses around.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of every business is obviously to be profitable, but you have to be more profitable in every minute of the day than you were yesterday to truly have a growing business. So that's how I started to envision everything. And I started to see AI could be an amazing tool at helping me elevate that constraint of time in my life so that I had more time to do the things that truly make me happy, which is telling stupid dad jokes to my girls, uh, you know, making passes at my wife in the kitchen, watching soccer, things like that. Just stupid little things that we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, and so that's how I started to approach it. And I started to invest a lot learning from people that use AI for a variety of different purposes to be able to ask myself how it is that I can do that. And the
Mm-hmm.
biggest hangup I had on all of that was, am I going to alienate myself from people that I need to work with? Am
Mm-hmm.
I truly going to replace people so that I isolate myself further? And I just kind of said, as long as you have a vision to not isolate yourself, you can go out there and actually do a lot more work with people that you didn't get a chance to do before because you were stuck in your business and
Mm-hmm.
not working on yourself for the sake of running a profitable business.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward to today, AI is going through leaps and bounds, but the principles remain the same. Describe what you're doing as a process, invest in the people to make sure they understand the process, and you can go out and do some amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're focused that it's the process because in my conversations with a lot of business owners, they haven't really thought about systems and processes in their
Mm-hmm.
business, and that's where we become the bottleneck because we are the system, we are the
Yep.
process because everything's in our head and we haven't really mapped that out onto a sheet of paper or however that we can get that out of our head into something that can then be developed and then we can delegate that whether it be to another human or it be to
Mm-hmm.
an AI, employee, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
so tell us a little bit about, some of the AI, processes that you've gone through, or kind of as you call them, like the AI employees that you've created,
Mm-hmm.
and how are they helping you grow your business?
Yeah, so we internally have probably about 80 different AI employees that we use, which means 80 different processes
Hmm.
that we're essentially using. And the staff that I have They work minimally in terms of time, but they know that they connect and stack multiple employees on top of one another to basically execute a series of processes and produce quality work at the end of it. And
Hmm.
we're talking everything from what everybody believes. I'm going to use AI to write my emails, or I'm going to use AI to write my social media posts. But we also have an AI employee that documents our processes and creates more AI employees by simply answering a few questions, giving that AI employee a sense of what we're trying to create. We get some amazing outputs that allows us to create and document a process in about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Uh, the thing that I'm extremely proud of is what we call our 90-minute marketing department, where you took a process that we used to have to work with clients over the course of 3 months on
Hmm.
to try to just document everything the correct way. And it again, like I said, the constraint is time. Nobody has time to sit in a boardroom all day and wax philosophic about marketing.
Right.
People want to know that every moment that they're spending working on this stuff is actually moving the ball forward.
Hmm.
So we documented all of our marketing consulting processes. We put them together in what we call this 90 the 90-minute marketing department. And now we can onboard our clients, teach them how to create their own AI employees, teach them how to tackle any challenge that they have in their business in just 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
then they can create any strategy they want in about an hour and a half.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, because a
Mm-hmm,
lot of businesses that, they get stuck on the marketing and, all of that and, and it can be a very time consuming process.
mm-hmm.
But when you can shortcut that, to, 90 minutes, like that's wow.
It
Mind blowing.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Is that every business, especially the real estate businesses we tend to work with, we all face the same thing: cash flow and profit. If we're
Hmm.
not making profit, we have zero cash flow, and if we have zero cash flow, we have zero business. That's one of the lessons that I learned when I ran that business, that mail shop into the ground.
Hmm.
Is I just destroyed cash flow. I mean, that's pure and simple what it was.
Yeah.
So we've even taken the next step of saying, okay, we have this amazing agency model that truncates the amount of time a client has to work. We actually sat and asked ourselves, what are we assuming about the agency model that we can flip and actually turn this into a profit engine? So
Mhm.
we actually then took our AI employees and put it together in a way that our broker clients and our school clients and associations that we work with can instantly start providing these same services to their agents that nobody else can provide, and make six figures a year in a new cash injection that takes literally no more investment than what they're already making.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just like the possibilities are endless here to
Yeah.
go out and help people make money, as opposed to what a lot of agencies do, which is to say, well, we'll get everything set up for you. You just have to pay us $5,000 a month to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, nobody has time for that.
Exactly. So I know a couple of things because in conversations, with people where we've talked about AI and different things, a lot of times, they're concerned about, the output.
Mm-hmm,
Is this really going to be quality output? Because, in some aspects, AI is not, all the way there yet. Because it does spit out a lot of junk, and it's,
mm-hmm,
kind of the old, computer thing of garbage in, garbage out. And I think AI is still kind of the same way. So question one is kind of like, how do you mitigate against that? How do you make sure that whatever you're putting into AI and whatever you're having it do, those employees are giving you their best quality work, just like we would expect with the human employee, right? And then
mm-hmm,
secondly, you mentioned that you actually have a staff of, real humans that are working for you. What exactly is their role with these AI employees? And I also want you to kind of speak to the fact that, it's not just you in the business. So you haven't used
mm-hmm,
AI to completely replace the human component of your business, but it has dramatically, decreased the need for the number of humans, right?
mm-hmm. So when it comes down to the quality of the inputs that we give, we try to challenge the assumption that you have to be a prompt engineer. And if people look at AI as writing the perfect prompts, and this is honestly one of my frustration with fellow marketers in the industry who are great at marketing but not necessarily AI savants.
Mm-hmm.
They try to sit there and they say, well, we've got the magic prompts that will solve all of your problems. But when you look at really well written prompts, basically what it's doing is just providing data. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it, right? And when it comes down to it, you don't need prompts to provide data. It comes the same way with training human beings. If we sit down and just sit somebody at a desk and say, all right, your job is to produce 10 widgets an hour. Best of luck. Here's a book on how to do it. Are they going to produce 10 widgets an hour? They might, but the quality of those widgets probably be pretty poor.
Mm-hmm.
Or they probably are going to produce one widget per hour because they really don't have any context as to why they're doing what they're doing, how it fits in the larger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that was a lesson from that other business. And I've known this for years being the quality systems guy, but I also found all my shortcomings on it. So when you look at AI, you get really quality outputs if you take the time to train your AI with real quality data. And
Mm-hmm.
this is everything from taking what's naturally in the language model,
Mm-hmm.
but adding to it by adding specific context. And we tell our clients that context comes in three forms: an AI persona, which gives that AI employee a sense of what the job is and what they're supposed to be doing; a set of work instructions that tells that AI employee how to do it, how
Mm-hmm.
to take those inputs and produce quality outputs, and all of the training data and context you can provide. In real estate, there's a ton of white papers and regulatory frameworks that we can use to train our AI employees to create real estate specific content.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, I mean, you talked about the stuff that's in our own head.
Yeah.
You can use your voice recorder and transcribe that and
Mm-hmm.
provide that as training data to your AI employees.
Yeah.
And all of which would be tremendously better than what you could do with just a simple prompt or even a long, well engineered prompt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you have to focus. You hit the nail on the head. You focus on quality in, you get quality out. But that's really no different than with people. And so taking that, we were able to then the staff that we have, the three others that work in the company, we were able to basically make them department directors, for lack of a better way of saying it,
Mm-hmm.
because they're managing multiple processes, right?
Yeah.
We call them AI employees, but they're really just documented processes. They're trained on all of the knowledge that I have in my head, so I don't have to repeat it over and over. I don't have to retrain them on what that knowledge is. And if it's not clear from the way that I talk, I spit out a bunch of stuff at one time. So it's probably a little tough to understand what's going on in my noggin. And I use that word specifically for that reason because I speak in a very unique way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of dump thoughts out there. Makes it horrible for people trying to follow what to do in a training context. Makes
Right.
it very easy for AI to do it. And it makes it easy for me to ask my staff, what do you need and how do we need to do it so that we can train our AI employees very specifically. And then they just know that they have to stack those employees on top of one another and get the output at the end of the tunnel that they're trying to create. So it makes the human side of business so much richer because we actually have time
Mm-hmm.
and energy to have these very fruitful discussions about what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it.
Yeah. And I feel also that, if you've got AI doing the mundane
Mm-hmm,
tasks, now it frees up the human capital to be able to do the things that they really want to be doing. That's interacting
mm-hmm,
with other humans, whatever that looks like in the business, but they can be doing the higher profitability actions as opposed to sitting at a desk and calculating numbers on a spreadsheet or whatever that might be. And I
mm-hmm,
also like the fact that you mentioned too, and I don't know if everybody caught it, but you mentioned that you've got over 80 AI employees. So one of the misconceptions that I think a lot of people may have is like, okay, I can just go out and I can get Chat GPT. or I could get, whatever subscription, and then that's my tool that I'm
Hmm.
going to use. AI is so much more than that. Can you kind of speak into, that tech stack that's necessary that kind of gives you the 80 AI employees?
Yeah, so it's really wild here. We actually primarily use Claude, which is another large language model,
Hmm.
ChatGPT to share our AI employees with other people, and Perplexity. That's probably about 90% of the work that we do. And
Hmm.
we stack on top of that Midjourney for image creation. We have a platform called Minvo to clip out video clips from long form video.
Hmm.
But by and large, most of our work, most of our processes are built inside of ChatGPT and Claude. I
Hmm.
think one of because it's a gold rush out there in terms of what you can create with AI, most people assume that you have to have all these different things to do everything that you want, and you really don't.
Hmm.
And what most people don't understand is when you're using Canva, right? Canva, as somebody that does some form of graphic design, I hated it for a long time. It isn't actually a great tool, but their AI is connected to open AI. I mean,
Hmm.
they're using their AI via API, all
Right.
these little acronyms and I's in there somewhere. Uh, but the reality is that it still comes back down to the basics, right?
Yeah.
These large language models have spent the time and energy to train artificial intelligence, which is just another way of saying logical prediction engine. And they're using those models. So the best source of doing what you need to do is still inside of the models that are trained by the platforms. OpenAI, Anthropic that owns Claude,
Hmm.
Perplexity, Midjourney has their own model for image creation, so on and so forth. So you don't actually need a ton of different tools.
Hmm.
Your tech stack doesn't have to be that complicated. Really, what it comes down to is documenting your processes.
Hmm.
And the wildest thing about it is so simple. People can't believe how simple it is to build an AI powered business. But when you go back to one of the lessons of Deming, he would always say that staff fails because the system is not working the right way.
Hmm.
That if a staff member doesn't do their job as it's supposed to do and as it's supposed to be done, what the quality standards demand, it's because the system isn't giving them the leadership and the tools and the guidance they need to effectively do that job well.
Yeah.
And when you look at it that way, you realize you can build most of these employees inside of one of those large language models and then just kind of pick and choose the other platforms
Hmm.
here and there where you need them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so that's good to know that you don't need a lot of tech stuff to to make this
Mm-hmm,
happen. But it kind of goes back to what you said a while ago is that the more examples that you can give it,
mm-hmm,
that's really what makes the AI unique to you. And that allows you
mm-hmm,
to really customize that. So like, in the realm of email, I've consulted with a lot of people, about email marketing. It's like, oh, I don't want to use AI to write my emails because it's not going to sound like me. It's not going to, use the same expressions and stuff like that. But you can actually train an AI on all of your writings that you've done, emails that you've sent and other things that you've
mm-hmm.
written. And now it's going to pick up on here's how, Scott, writes his emails. Here's how Rob writes his emails. And then now you can leverage AI to help you with, those types of things. Is that kind of what you're saying?
100%. I mean, that is the most critical thing is that you provide you and examples of you to be able to make those emails stand out. And look, as a guy that works in the email space, you know this very well that you probably spend a tremendous amount of time coaching your clients on how to express their voice
Yeah.
more than you probably spend time talking to them how to set up their inbox delivery and whatnot, right? Obviously, very important stuff. But even if you deliver emails to an inbox, the power comes at getting people to read those emails.
Yeah.
So, all of the ways that you communicate are so critical to making this work because otherwise, you're just going to sound like other people.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Rob, I mean, we could talk probably for hours on
Hmm.
AI, but I know that you've got a couple of resources that you'd like to make available to our audience. Do you want to share just a little bit about what those are and how they can get them?
Yeah, so if you go to Lesix, LESIX.agency /ultimate guide, you can sign up for our ultimate guide to creating AI employees. It's a Google Doc that we update on a regular basis with an explanation of how to construct your AI employees, examples of how you can do it. And there's actually links in there to AI employees that we've created for everybody to use, including our new HR AI employee
Oh, wow.
that creates the documentation, the base documentation to train your Claude project or custom GPT on what it is you're trying to do. So, funny enough, I was on another call this morning and just kind of joking around. We created an AI employee to train a real estate coach on how to build an investment plan or write content on LinkedIn for investment plans in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where I grew up.
Hmm.
And it was a really wild way that we went about training this employee, and it was very specific.
Hmm.
You'll have access to that. So, just like I said, go to lesix.agency /ultimate guide, sign up. You can use it as much as you want. There's ways to get in touch with us there. So, if you want to spend time with us talking about how we can help you, beyond that, always happy to help.
Awesome. And so I know that like you really focus on real estate. That's kind of, your industry and things like that.
Mhm.
But are you able to help other people that, maybe they're not in real estate, but they want to start leveraging AI employees in their business? Is that something that you do consulting and coaching training?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. The nice thing about what it is that we built is that we try to, again, live up to our heroes, Deming and Goldratt, by creating models that are applicable to life, not necessarily a specific type of business. So, some of the AI employees that we build are specific to real estate. The 90-minute marketing department is actually something that can be deployed in any type of business at any level because it actually focuses on the fundamental processes that you need to go out and make a lot of good profit and free up a lot of your time.
Wow, fantastic. Well, I would encourage everybody to go check out that resource. I'm definitely going to go get a copy of that guide because I love, kind of diving into AI things. And we'll make sure that we put the address in the show notes as well, just in case you're not in a place where you can write that down. But Rob, I really appreciate you sharing your story and your knowledge and expertise with us. Encourage everybody to go check out his website, Lee6 Agency or Lee6.agency, and then of course getting the ultimate guide. If you're looking to supercharge your email marketing, check out my book, Hit the Inbox, at hittheinboxbook.com. It's packed with 76 pages of strategies to get your emails landing in inboxes and driving sales. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. It helps us reach more entrepreneurs like you. And until next time, keep crushing it in the trenches.